Alright, buckle up because today's episode is packed. The main buzz floating around is a rumor that took over social media this past weekend. Chris Olave possibly being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. And yeah, I know, it sounds like one of those classic offseason rumors that gets thrown around just to stir the pot. But this one actually gained some serious traction. So the real question is, does it make any sense at all for the silver and black to even consider going after the Saints young wide receiver? We're going to break that down. And later on, some surprising news involving Kirk Cousins has surfaced, and whether you believe it or not, it could absolutely affect the Raiders season. If you're shaking your head thinking, no way, then honestly, you're not paying close enough attention to how this league works. Now let's rewind a bit. Every offseason we get hit with wild headlines and speculation, but this time it felt like every few hours someone new was bringing up Olave and linking him to Vegas. And no, this didn't come from inside the Raiders organization. No GM whisper, no cryptic posts from players, nothing of the sort. This was 100% internet-fueled chaos. But the volume of people discussing it made it impossible to ignore. From Twitter threads to Reddit posts, fans have been buzzing about a potential blockbuster move for Chris Olave. And even though the source is questionable at best, the conversation exploded. And here's the thing. This isn't the first time a big-name receiver has been linked to the Raiders. This offseason alone, people have thrown around names like Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen. It's almost as if the entire league just assumes Vegas is desperate for a wideout. But are they really? Honestly, when you look at what the Raiders have done over the past few months, that wide receiver room isn't as shaky as people outside the organization think it is. Guys like Jack B and Dante Thornton have shown flashes, and rookies like Tommy Mellott are already turning heads. People forget that behind the scenes, the coaching staff has been pretty vocal about liking the young talent they've brought in. But let's bring it back to Olave. This connection to the Raiders actually goes back a couple of years. During the 2022 NFL draft process, Olave mentioned that he'd love to play for the Raiders because his older brother is a die-hard fan. And sometimes those kinds of personal details stick with fans. So now, whenever there's a hint of Olave being unhappy, or the Saints potentially shaking things up, Raider Nation starts dreaming up trade packages. And when you look at the numbers Olave has put up in his first 2 seasons, coming out of Ohio State and immediately producing, it's easy to see why fans would want him. He's been solid, efficient, and there's every reason to believe he hasn't even hit his ceiling yet. Traditionally, year 3 is when receivers break out in a big way. And with the kind of stats he's already posting, he's clearly on the trajectory to become one of the NFL's elite young wideouts. Now, I know a lot of fans are already typing trade in the comments because they love the idea of adding that kind of talent to the roster. But here's the thing, you gotta look at the bigger picture. I'm gonna be real with you. If it were up to me, I'd pass on this one. Not because Olave isn't a good player, he absolutely is, but because I just don't see this current Raiders regime making that kind of move. First off, they actually seem to believe in the guys they already have. While the national media might be focused on star power, Vegas is quietly building something with a lot of young, unproven, but promising talent. Guys like Dante Thornton Jr., who can stretch the field, or Tommy Mellott, who's been solid in the slot, are giving them options. Then there's Trey Tucker, who's been making noise at OTAs and could surprise a lot of people. Even a guy like Kyle Phillips, who has history with Chip Kelly, could carve out a role. So it's not like the cupboard is bare. Plus, let's talk trade cost. The buzz around the league is that the Saints might be looking for a day 2 pick, 2nd or 3rd round for Olave. That's a pretty hefty price, especially when you consider the Raiders already used a 3rd round pick to go get their quarterback. Would they really be willing to sacrifice another valuable asset for a wide receiver when they already have a room full of young guys they believe in? I don't see it happening. Add to that the financial side of things. If the Raiders trade for Olave, they'd be on the hook for around $3.3 million against the cap this season, and then $15.5 million next. Yeah, because New Orleans already picked up his 5th-year option. That's a lot of commitment for a team that's still figuring out what its identity is under this new regime. And then there's the health factor. This is the part that really makes me pause. Olave has had a concerning history with concussions. 1 in each of his first 3 seasons in the league, plus a documented one back at Ohio State in 2020. That's 5 known concussions since 2020. And I say known because, let's be honest, players almost never report every single one. Anyone who's played football or even been around the game knows that the number of reported concussions is usually just the tip of the iceberg. So if we're talking about building a team around a tough physical brand of football, a gritty, no-nonsense style, can you really afford to roll the dice on a guy with that kind of injury history? It reminds me too much of what happened with Hunter Renfrow. He looked like a rising star until concussions and injuries started to pile up, and suddenly he was a shell of the player he used to be. I'm not saying Olave is going down the same road, but it's a valid concern. If we're trying to establish a smash mouth identity, we need guys who can withstand the grind. And while Olave is incredibly talented, there's just too much risk baked into that deal for me to feel good about it. Look, if this were Madden and we could turn injuries off, I'd be all in. Olave would be an absolute beast in this offense. But this is real life, and real rosters come with real consequences. So unless something drastically changes after OTAs or minicamp, like if the Raiders look around in late June and suddenly realize their receiver group just isn't cutting it, I don't think they make a move. And honestly, I don't think they should. That being said, let's pivot to something else that's been flying a bit under the radar, but could have a major ripple effect across the league. And yes, it impacts the Raiders too. I'm talking about the Kirk Cousins situation. In Atlanta, there was a report that came out recently saying Cousins wasn't present at the Falcons' first OTA session. And then word got around that he's made it clear he doesn't want to stay in Atlanta beyond this season. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does that have to do with the Raiders? Let me break it down. The reason this matters is because Cousins is still a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. Top 32? Absolutely. So wherever he ends up, that team gets better. And since he's currently in the NFC playing for a team that's not even on the Raiders' schedule this year, he's not a threat yet. But if he forces a trade and lands on an AFC team that Vegas does play this season, suddenly that changes everything. So yes, the Cousins news affects us. We'll dive deeper into that in just a minute, but I want to make this clear. This league moves fast, and the ripple effects are real. Whether it's Chris Olave trade rumors or unexpected quarterback shifts, everything can circle back to impact the silver and black. Now, let's really unpack this Kirk Cousins situation. Because while on the surface, it might seem like just another quarterback getting cold feet in a new city, the potential consequences could hit the Raiders harder than people realize. So Cousins signs a big deal with the Atlanta Falcons, and everyone assumes he's locked in as their guy, right? But here we are, not even into the heart of the offseason program, and reports start surfacing that he hasn't shown up for OTAs. Then it comes out that he might already be looking for a way out after just a few months with the team. That's not just smoke, that's a signal flare. Sure, Atlanta hasn't said anything official, but the whispers are growing louder. And here's the kicker. Cousins has a no-trade clause. That means if any deal is going to happen, it has to be to a destination he approves of. This isn't a situation where the Falcons can quietly send him packing for some future draft picks and move on. He's got the power to control where he ends up next. But at the same time, you better believe Atlanta would love to offload that contract if they feel like things are already starting to go south. Now think about this from a strategic standpoint. Cousins might not be the flashiest quarterback out there, but he's a seasoned vet. And in the right system, he can still win games. The guy is accurate, doesn't turn the ball over much, and has led multiple teams to the playoffs. If you're a franchise that's maybe one piece away, a stable QB away, you're going to be looking hard at this situation. And guess what? A lot of those teams live in the AFC. That's where this becomes a problem for the Raiders. Let's say a team like the Browns makes a move for Cousins. Right now, their quarterback situation is a mess. Deshaun Watson hasn't been reliable. And with health concerns piling up, the Browns might feel like they're stuck. Throw in Kirk Cousins and suddenly Cleveland looks a lot more threatening. The same goes for the Colts. They've got Anthony Richardson, sure, but if he struggles early or can't stay on the field, Cousins gives them a stable veteran presence who could take them from a fringe team to a real playoff contender. And then there's Pittsburgh. The Steelers always seem to be in the conversation, even when their offense isn't clicking. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't end up there like some people have speculated, you better believe Cousins could be their plan B. He fits their style, brings experience, and gives them a real chance to compete in the brutal AFC North. That's not Good news for the Raiders, because these are teams Las Vegas might have to deal with directly or be competing against for a playoff spot. So when people say, who cares what happens with Cousins? He's not coming to Vegas. They're missing the point. It's not about the Raiders trading for him. It's about where he ends up and how that reshapes the AFC landscape. Because let's be real, the margin for error in the AFC is razor thin. One extra win, one surprise team getting hot at the right time, and suddenly your playoff chances are gone. Cousins landing on a team like the Browns or Colts could be that domino that shifts everything. And when you look at the Raiders' schedule this year, it's clear there are a few games that stand out as must-win. 2 of those are against you. I guessed it, the Browns and the Colts. Vegas plays Indianapolis in Week 5 and Cleveland in Week 12. Right now, you circle those games as winnable, but you add Cousins into the mix, and suddenly those games look a lot tougher. Those go from potential victories to real battles, where 1 or 2 mistakes could cost you the entire game. That's why this matters. Cousins might be a footnote in the offseason news cycle for now, but the ripple effect of his potential move could have massive consequences. We've seen this kind of thing before. A seemingly minor transaction happens over the summer, and months later, it turns out to be the turning point for a team's season. If Cousins moves to the AFC, especially to a team with a soft QB room, that team instantly gets better, and that means more competition for Vegas. It also highlights just how valuable the Raiders' current quarterback situation really is. Geno Smith, for all the ups and downs, is on a very team-friendly deal. Compared to what Cousins is making, Geno's contract looks like an absolute steal. And he's a better fit for this offense anyway. More mobile, more adaptable, and with a chip on his shoulder that his locker room can rally around. If you're looking at pure value and upside, the Raiders are in a solid place. But the league isn't played on paper. It's played on Sundays, in unpredictable weather, with momentum swinging from one play to the next. That's where veteran experience can tip the scales. So again, this isn't about whether Cousins becomes a Raider. It's about how his next move could impact the teams around Vegas and, by extension, the Raiders' shot at the postseason. That Week 12 matchup against Cleveland, it could be the difference between sneaking into a wildcard spot or sitting at home in January. Same with Week 5 in Indianapolis. These are games that might feel routine now, but they could define the season. If Cousins ends up starting for one of those teams, everything changes, and that's why we pay attention to these off-season storylines, even when they seem distant. The NFL has a way of bringing everything full circle. One player's decision, one trade, one change in chemistry. It can tilt an entire division. Raider Nation has seen this movie before, and if we've learned anything, it's that you can't afford to look away, even for a second. So as the drama unfolds in Atlanta, keep an eye on those teams quietly watching from the sidelines. The Browns, the Steelers, the Colts, they all have reasons to pick up the phone and ask about Cousins. And if they do, well, the road to the playoffs just got a little steeper for the silver and black. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers in the NFL world are swirling around a potential blockbuster move that could reshape the landscape of the Raiders' backfield. Rumors are heating up that Javonte Williams, the dynamic running back known for his bruising style and explosive plays, might be on the verge of signing with the Las Vegas Raiders. While nothing is confirmed yet, the mere suggestion of Williams joining the Raiders is enough to stir excitement and speculation among fans and analysts alike. Javonte Williams, who has showcased his talent as a powerful runner with an ability to break tackles and grind out tough yards, has been a sought-after player since entering the league. His combination of size, speed, and vision has made him a key asset wherever he's played. And the idea of him potentially bolstering the Raiders' offense has sparked a lot of buzz. The Raiders, always eager to strengthen their roster and boost their offensive weapons, would likely see Williams as a valuable addition, capable of bringing a new dimension to their running game. Though no official announcements have been made, sources close to the situation hint that negotiations could be progressing quietly behind the scenes. If Williams were to sign with the Raiders, it would signal a clear intent by the franchise to invest heavily in their ground game and provide their quarterback with a reliable and dynamic running option. This could also open up opportunities for the Raiders to diversify their play calling and keep defenses guessing. Fans are already imagining the impact Williams could have lining up in the Raiders' backfield, envisioning hard-fought yardage, explosive runs, and a physical presence that could intimidate opposing defenses. The buzz is palpable, and social media is abuzz with speculation about how Williams' style would mesh with the Raiders' offensive scheme. While it's still early days and the deal is far from official, the possibility of Javonte Williams joining the Raiders has quickly become one of the most talked about topics in NFL rumor circles. If the signing does go through, it could mark a significant turning point for the Raiders as they look to elevate their offense to new heights in the coming season. For now, fans will have to stay tuned and watch closely as this intriguing story develops. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.